Okay, so let's talk about paper mache. The first thing you want to do is you want to design your form. In this case, we are going to be doing a Greek vase. So I drew out a basic shape for my vase, and now once I have my shape, my design, now I need to figure out what I can do to create the form, the skeleton, if you will, so that we can start adding the paper mache. So I know that my center piece for the body of this vase will definitely use a balloon. So I'm going to need a blown up balloon. For the top, I could possibly use a cup. For the bottom, it looks like I'll probably need to create a ring with some cardboard. So some cardboard or thick paper. And for the handle, if you can't find anything in that shape, which might be a little bit difficult, what I am going to use is some magazine paper and I will form it. So I'm going to need some magazines. Okay? So those are going to be the basic shapes that I'm going to need to create my form. Okay, so now I've gathered all of my materials and now we can start building our vase. So I blew up my balloon. This will be the main body of my vase. And I picked up 2 cups so I can figure out which one I want for the top. And then for the bottom, I made 2 rings in different sizes. And I made this one just out of a manila folder that I cut. And I made the wider, yellower one out of some thick poster board. So now I can try and figure out what I think is going to look best. So here is my balloon. I can place it on top of maybe this one for the base and the body, and then maybe this cup here, okay? Or I think I want to make it a little bit wider and a little bit taller. So I am going to use this base, and all I did was staple it. You can tape it. I'm going to set my balloon there, and I think I like this shape better. Now for the handle, I've gathered some magazines, and what you're going to do is you are just going to form it into the shape of a handle. And you might need a few pages to do this, and you could possibly even use some newspaper. So I'm not going to tape it yet. I'm going to tape everything else first, and then I will tape the handles last. So anyway, once I have my form done, I still need to work on my arms. I'm not going to tape the arms to the structure yet, because what I want to do is I want to first paper mache this, at least get one layer down, make it nice and firm and protect it before I start adding any of the handles to it. So what I will do is I will create these handles separately. And then after I do one layer of paper mache, I can then add the handles to the body of the vase. So basically what I've done is I've taken some magazine papers and I've just wrapped them around each other because I really want this to be firm. I don't want to use just a few sheets. I probably used about 6 or 8 sheets here, okay? And I am just gonna kind of form it into the shape that I think I'm going to like. And then I am going to use my masking tape to hold it together. And then what I will do when I start paper macheing is I will paper mache this separately and then wait for that to harden before I add it to my actual vase. So here's what I did for the handle. So I took those magazine sheets and I crumbled them up nice and tight. I formed it into the shape that I think I would like, and I could even form it a little bit more. And I gave it 2 flat edges so that there's something to tape to the structure once I'm ready. And then I used masking tape to tape all around it so that you can kind of get an idea. and I might be able to play around with where I want the handle here, here, maybe even here and at the top. So I can kind of play around with it. But now I am ready to start paper macheing, and I will add this after the one layer of paper mache. Okay, so now it's time to begin paper macheing. So I have a bunch of strips already cut out, and you're gonna want a pair of scissors nearby because you might even have to cut them into smaller pieces. One thing that I did have to add to my form or my structure was this bottom piece. So I just cut a circle in the same size as the ring that I made, and I just taped it in a few different spots. So now we're going to begin. I'm just gonna lay this down, and this is what you're going to do. Make sure you either have a tray or a towel, some paper towels nearby. I am going to take just one strip, and I'm going to put it in my water. And when I pull it out of my water, I take my 2 fingers and I connect them, and then I just run it down the edge of the paper mache so it's not dripping. And then I'm going to take it and gently and smoothly attach it, making sure that it is right in the crevice. Then I take my fingers and I gently spread it to make sure that there are no bumps, because however you lay it, that's exactly how it's going to dry. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to dip and I'm going to drag my fingers right along the edge. And when I come back, I am going to overlap it just a little bit. Remember, this is just the first layer, and you're just going to continue doing that all the way around until you have completely covered your form. And this will take a few hours to dry. So again, I'm making sure it's going right into any of the little crevices, and I want to make sure that I lay it flat, and once I lay it flat, I make sure to smooth it out. Any bumps will show up, so you really want to take your time doing that. Now for the top of your vase, because we do want it to have a hole at the top, I'm going to dip, I'm going to drag my fingers right along the edge. I am just going to lay it inside and wrap it around the edge. Again, making sure to smooth it down, and I'll just do that along the whole edge of the top of my cup. Nice and carefully, nice and slowly. Very important to smooth it out. Okay, so I have paper mache the whole thing. I got the bottom all around the top, and I just wanted to show you how I do the body of the vase, the balloon, because what I did here is I made sure to wrap around horizontally. I felt like that was a little bit easier, but just remember that when you dip into the water, you drag. You can also drag it along the edge if you want, and then you want to overlap it just a little bit. Just have the edges overlap just a little bit, and remember again to smooth it out. Any bumps or any air bubbles that you leave will harden that way. So it's really important that you carefully lay it and then you smooth it out all the way to the edges. If the edge curls up, make sure to uncurl it. And so the first part of this is just getting your first layer. You don't want to put wet paper mache on top of wet paper mache. So you really want to give it some drying time in between layers. And there you have it. So I also wrapped the handle all the way around, and what I did is I took these clothespins to make the curve that I wanted in my handle, and I'm just gonna pin it like this. That way it dries in the shape that I want. So think about how wide you want your handle or how small you want it. And then just take 2 clips and clip it so that it dries in that shape and in that form.